Hello, Jason. How are you? It's
Very
Andy Watt.
Andy Watts, how's it going with you in this wonderful day?
Very good, man. About 100 watts. Well, I'm 50 watts. Today it's 100 watts.
Lots of watts and lots of power.
The big guy today. Watts is a good name for a guitarist, you know.
Well, I would say so because it goes with the amplifiers.
That's right. I'm a big fan of Marshall's big one. So, yeah, Super Lead, that's my way. And I play Fenders too. I play everything.
And
Sound is important, you know. Sound is you.
And let's say with your guitar tones, that's one of the questions I was going to ask is like, what's your go-to sound, to get the sound quality you get on the album?
I tell you, sound is something that I hear inside, and I always try to not to go to the extreme. I think the finger is in the fingers, and it's like Stevie said always, the sound is you. It's in your fingers, it's in your soul. However, you can shortcut by playing the instruments that inspire you. Yeah, you can obviously walk in today to any decent music store and pick a new guitar and get a great sound. I play old guitars because they inspire me. They have a story to tell. They have this patina, they have the vibe, and somehow I get accustomed to that. And I was fortunate to find a few guitars when it was still available for musicians, not as collector's items. So the sound is you. And I on the album, on Supergroup, I used my Gibson Les Pauls, and I also used a Stratocaster. I used a Telecaster. Used a whole range to make it versatile. I think the most important thing when you talk about sound, which is my target all the time, so to speak, is that you have a sound that when people hear you, they say, that's him. He has a signature sound. And that's what I'm trying to aspire to. Have a good sound that is somehow identifying you as a musician.
Let's say looks with a guitar versus sound. Sometimes people do go for looks before the sound. What's your take on that?
Sound is the holy grail. I think that it doesn't matter what you play and how fast and how good. If you don't, the sound that's the essence. You must have the sound, because if you're listening, if you shut down the sound and you're looking, that's not the same thing as shutting down the visual and listening. So sound is ultimate for me, and that's the most thing I'm listening to when I'm sitting in the studio and trying to be self-critical of what I just did 2 minutes ago. As I listen to the timing, I'm trying to hear. I'm not trying to prove too much, not overplaying. It's subtle and letting the tone sink in. I think with the time when you're playing, you actually play less. You find out it's much more difficult to play less than more because you have to emphasize each note. It's a different ball game.
Very true, and find the feelings, certainly in blues, to make it sing to you, the guitar.
Right, that's what it is. I mean, blues, everyone say, what's the blues? Well, this is blues, that's not blues. Well, you can say what Howlin' Wolf said. Well, everything is the blues, but I tell you, the real blues is when you cannot pay your rent.
Okay.
So, I mean, blues, what I like with the blues, it's not something you can say, I'm going to go and learn and study blues. I think blues is something that you feel it inside, it's coming to you. And it's a free art form. That was just makes it so beautiful and nice. And some can say blues is easy to play, but it's difficult to feel. So I think it's what you're trying to do is to project your inner feeling, your inner vibe as a guitarist through the fretboard and getting out. And you know when you're in the zone because you can feel it. You feel it's just right. You don't have to think what you're playing. When I'm playing live, I don't sit and rehearse in the room before I'm going to play. I go up, and the energy of the place, of the band, is going to lead me to where I'm playing. I never play a solo the same twice. I mean, sure, I have a guideline, but I don't have it's not copy-paste, if I say so.
Right. And on the Supergroove album, let's say, who's all playing with you? Very different musicians, or is it your band?
Yeah, I do have a live here in Israel. I have quite a, well, to say the biggest. We are not such a big blues country like you have in Canada or the United States, but we do have quite a big blues audience. I've been having the fortune to bring a lot of big blues stars to Israel for the last 10 years. And I have a big 9-piece band. So on the stage, I have a full horn section, trombone, saxophone, trumpet, which you can hear on the album, B3 Hammond, 2 singers with me, drums and bass. And on this album, Supergroove, Joe Louis Walker is a good friend of mine. He was here in Israel 3 times. He was also my previous album, was on fire. He is singing the tune Burning Deep. And Alison Neals is doing the vocals on a Hugh Laurie Walker tune, actually, from a 95 Blues of the Month Club. So yeah, I tried to change the vocals to make it more versatile, and I think it just worked out. Different vocals, a different approach, and you have some rock and roll here. You got some blues, you got some psychedelic.
And let's say when you go and approach on make an album, do you find some certain inspirations and to write and to record the music, or is it just free flow and it just goes in art form?
That's an interesting question, because as we're speaking, I have basically lined up my next album. I've incorporated with Kenny Neal on the next one too. Kenny Neal was a good friend of mine, and we also performed together, and he's a great blues artist. He co-produced Supergroup, and I basically have my next album, the direction of it, the vibe of it. I mean, without a doubt, the past 6-7 months lockdown gave me a lot of time to reflect on music, and that took me time to write some music. And I think I have some interesting, good music in store. How it happens most of the time, you have a good guitar riff. If you're working with the music, I always write lyrics. Then you have to see that the lyrics will flow with the music, and the style of writing I would categorize it as gray. It's not white, it's not black, meaning it's up to the listener to interpret the way he thinks is right.
So sometimes when you do write music and it just doesn't go on the album, do you save it for maybe in the future? You can reference it back and go in and check out your old lyrics?
That's true. Sometimes like a squirrel, you bury a nut and then it grows a tree. It happens, So yeah, definitely. The theme on this one, Supergroove, is an instrumental. And the way I visualized it was, this is how you kick off the concert, before you bring in the vocals, you kick off with 3.5 minutes of pure energy, and emphasizing the baritone saxophone, which sounds like an old boat, like Titanic,
Mm-hmm.
The B3 Hammond, and some cool guitar riffs, and that was something that I had in store, but I polished it, and I felt that Supergroove was just the way I wanted the name of the band, this album, and I also planned to have this like a musical journey on the album, and that's why I ended it with another supernatural song, which is my take on the recently deceased guitar hero Peter Green, where I changed a little bit by adding a trumpet and the B3 Hammond.
And I've seen in your biography you performed with Johnny Winter. I mean, I'm sure that was a pleasure in itself.
Oh yeah. Well, Johnny Winter was in Israel in 2013, just about a year before it passed, and I had the good fortune to have him blessing my Les Paul. We had an whole afternoon together. That was an unforgettable experience. That was great. I had a lot of blues stars from America over the years. Rick Estrin, who is also performing on the album under his AKA name, Coasting Hank. That's how he wanted it to be.
Okay.
But it's Rick Estrin who is playing the harp. Bernard Allison, Lucky Peterson beneath whites. A lot of others, Jolie Walker, of course, Kenny Neal. So we've been blessed by having some really good American blues artists coming to Israel. We've been performing together, recording together, and it's been really a blessing to play with these guys.
How long did it take you to make the album?
It was, I wanted to take my time. I didn't want to make a fast food thing, a slow food, meaning that I had the songs. The first songs I recorded on this album was Living Hand to Mouth, which is basically a Rick Estrin tune. He was in Israel. We really hit off on stage. It was such a great time. We decided, you know what? We're going to record his song, and I'm going to put it on my album. And that's what we did. So he was in Israel. He added the harp. We did the vocals. We moved in to the studio and did it. Mm-hmm. Another song we recorded at the same time was Don't Take My Blues Away. That's a song that Kenny Neal actually thought he was going to sing, and then he didn't do it because he liked the concept. The reason for it being that everyone wants to get rid of the blues. And he went and tells me, don't take my blues away. Oh, that's an interesting concept. You can take everything, but don't take my blues away, And I actually started that in December 2018 by recording these two songs, and we released it in September 4th. So yes, it took some time, but about a year and 2 months.
Okay.
It was not all the time, You're working, you're changing, you're listening in the studio, you're adding small details. I think it's a blessing to take your time. So when you make music, not make a rush job.
Andy, what's Israel's Ambassador of the Blues? That's a great title, and you have a good name on that.
Sorry, I didn't hear the question. What you said?
In your name, you're like Israel's Ambassador of the Blues, and that's a great honor.
That's how it turned out to be. That's just how it happens with the years, with all the artists I bring. And yeah, I try to do my best to keep face to that.
Well, it's a real pleasure talking to you, and I certainly hope in COVID-19 situations you're taken care of and everything's good with you.
I'm so pleased to speak with you. Yes, and we are always we have the same thing. We have a lockdown in Israel at the moment, and I hope it's going to leave. I haven't played a live show since the 11th of March, and of course we are gearing up for taking Supergroup live, playing it live, take it all around. I've been blessed by having Supergroup on the charts in the States and the music youth reports, also in the UK. So seems like they like to listen to the music, and that's the best thing you can have.
That's great. I wish you luck and success, and hope all the best.
Thanks so much, Jason. Pleasure talking to you.
You as well. You have a good day.
Thank you so much. Bye for now.
Bye.